Hello, Deral Carson here. I'd like to share again today just a little bit about faith. And I know this has been a very hard time. Recently, we've all struggled through life, and it's had its ups and downs and challenges. And sometimes it appears it doesn't take too much for us to knock our faith over. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today and how we can kind of stay away from that sort of thing. You got to first understand what faith is all about and what it is. Well, here's what I found. So let's look at Hebrews chapter 11. We're going to look at verse 1. It says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen." I love that, and it does speak volumes to me. And I thought, well, what does that really all mean? So I looked some of it up. I looked some Bible dictionaries. And here's what I came up with. The Wiley Online Bible Dictionary told me that biblical hope is confident expectation of what God has promised and the strength in His faithfulness. Pretty nice. In other words, there's no gamble in our faith. It's a done deal with God that He's going to keep His promises. So it's a faith in the Word. It's actually believing that God's going to do what God says He's going to do. And evidence is our conviction that the truth is real and tangible. I like that. I love knowing that the truth is real and tangible. That lets me get my hands on it. If I say call it tangible, then it becomes something of substance. And then I can work with that. At least that's the way my mind works. So do you have a certain faith marker in your life? I like to call them faith markers, faith builders, if you will. One for me, just one. I've had others, but just one is science. It's actually science. And from science, sometimes I can see God so clearly. The real God, the God of the Bible, the God that made the heavens and the earth. Yes, from science. There's one law in science. You can prove God and bust on a lot of scientific theories just with this one thing. God showed me this clearly. There's a theory, it's called the first law of thermodynamics. And what that says is that energy, everything's made of energy, and that it can neither be created nor destroyed. You can't modify it. You can't cause it to go up. You can't cause it to go down. It doesn't vary in mass. We're talking about the whole universe here. It's a constant, so it's not constantly draining down. It's not slowly building up. It's constant. Well, if it's constant, where did it come from? I think we all know the answer to that question. It came clearly from God. God created it. He spoke it into existence. It's what the Word says. I have to believe it. Here it is. So if this one law is true, and it truly is true, then I can believe that God made everything, because there's no way it just came into being. Some guy that I can't pronounce his name in the 1850s came up with this. And I just found it marvelous. God just boinked it into my head a couple of days ago. Talk about this. So here we are. We're talking about this today. So that's kind of a faith builder for me. And I guess my question would be, do you have faith builders? You know, God created everything. He put all of this into existence. He created all the substance, all the mass, all the energy. He created the nothing to put the something in. And this I really like. It just seems to me, I get this mental picture of God cranking time, like starting an old Model T Ford. You know, there it goes. Now we're in motion, and suddenly time. There was time. It wasn't time before God made it. Just wasn't. And then He just did this. He just made it happen. So the thing we want to guard against, faith markers are great, and you should have those, and it's good to reflect on those. But at the same time, what I want to bring up is there are also faith busters, and those are the things you've got to guard against. There are things that the Word does not tell us are true, yet we are convinced to put our faith in. maybe something the world has come up with and we kind of bought into. It can happen. It's easy. You've got to read your word and guard against these sort of things. It could be something that the enemy has laid before us, and suddenly we go, yeah, what about that? For example, it's easy to blame God when a loved one dies, and in this particular time we know we have a lot of people dying. We can't even go to their funerals. It's so awful, isn't it? But it's easy to blame God and lose faith and say, if God really loved me, he wouldn't have taken my loved one. Well, that's not a faith thing. That's a falsehood, because everyone dies. Everyone in the Bible, save one person, died. Even Jesus Christ died on a cross. How can we not expect us to die? Tomorrow's not promised to us, so therefore we have to take it as we get life. The thing we have to strive to remember, what we have faith in, is the fact that we have eternal life through Jesus Christ. Awesome. That's where our focus needs to be. And I know if you're like me, you have to remind yourself of that daily. We have to pick up that cross daily and walk it out. So these are just some things I want to bring to you to guard against in this season, or to build in this season, because we want to build up faith. So let's look finally at the story of the centurion. And I'm going to read that to you because as a military guy, spending 21 years in the military, I really relate to this story. So let me find it. So we're in Matthew 8, verse 5 is where we're starting. So Jesus entered Capernaum. A centurion came to him asking for help. Lord, he said, my servant lies at home paralyzed, suffering terribly. Jesus said to him, shall I come and heal him? Asked the question. I think he knew the answer. The centurion replied, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes. And I tell this one, come, and he comes. I tell my servant, do this, and he does it. And when Jesus heard this, he was amazed and said to those following him, truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. So there's something in that story, isn't there? We get to learn that the Word tells us something. It tells us truths. And as the centurion did, we need to believe it. We just need to believe it and go do it. Walk it out. Just walk it out. Look back in life at those things that God did. He made promises, and those promises came true in your life. Those are the things that are going to continue to build your faith. So in conclusion, let's look at this. Find the promises of God, those ones I just mentioned. Find those things that you know are true in the Word, and you can reflect back on, or even look forward on and say, okay, God, this is where I'm looking. This is where I'm putting my faith. This is where I'm seeing in your Word that you will do things. And this is how you're going to do it. I know this because this is what the Word tells me. I'm going to move in that way. I'm going to move forward in that way. Recount those times. And then finally, watch out for those faith busters. Guard against those. I hope this has been a help to you. I hope that you can continue to study in the Word right now. I think this is a great time. It's sure working wonders for me. I'm having a blast digging around and God bringing things to mind and just putting things down on paper and working them out and maybe sharing a few of those things. So you all have a wonderful day and God bless.